All right, so we have some articulations that I would like to talk about today. These are all either tongued articulations or bowed articulations, so these would not necessarily happen with a slur attached to them. We will talk about what they would sound and look like if they did have a slur, but for right now, if you take a look at the board behind me, these are some things that you might see coming up along the way. The first one is called staccato. You see these little dots. They can either be below or they can be on top. It means the same thing. It just depends on where you're looking at it in the staff. And this means detached. We're not going to change the value of the note. Your quarter note will still be one beat, but it will not necessarily be held for the entire beat. They're actually going to be a bit shorter and more detached. So those 4 quarter notes that you see behind me would sound like this as a staccato. Just little pearls of sound. They still get one count. You are hearing some silence. You're hearing actually some rest, but it's just a different style, and this is really important, especially when we're playing in ensembles. If the staccatos are written, that you're really obeying those. That way everyone gets little pearls of sound coming out of their instrument. Now, you may see the accents, this one, as well. These are a little bit different. These are more of an emphasis on the note. So if you play a wind or a brass instrument, you're using your tongue, and you are just tonguing it a bit harder. Now, it's not any shorter, so you would still give the full value for your notes, but it's the beginning of the note that is going to change. So if I played 2 quarter notes followed by 2 half notes, all accented, it might sound something like this. Now, you might crack the note a little bit the first few times that you try this. That's totally okay. That means you're doing the right thing, and it's just a matter of making sure that you're emphasizing and giving it the oomph that it needs without giving it too much. But if you go a little bit too much at first, it means you're on the right track, and we just pull it back to refine. On a string instrument, it's the same idea. You're giving it some emphasis, but you're not using your tongue, you're using your bow. So you're digging into the string just a little bit at the beginning of the note, backing off for the duration of the sound. So I'm just going to play on an open string, and it sounds something like this. So I'm just digging in with that boss knuckle just to give it that beginning accented sound. Moving right along, you might see a marcato, or you might hear me call it a cap accent, because it looks like a little cap on top, and it is the accent symbol just turned sideways. It's essentially a staccato plus an accent together. So now it is short and detached and emphasized. And then we call it a marcato or cap accent exercise. And it would sound something like this. A little bit different than a regular accent like this, because now you are actually adding in that staccato, that detached aspect to it. So quick review as we go. Staccato, detached, short, but still light. Accent, that is emphasized, giving it some oomph with either the tongue or the bow. Marcato, adding both of those together, staccato and accented, becomes marcato. And then something totally different, tenuto. These long lines. When we play something generally that's very smooth and that we want it to be flowing, and you'll hear me use the word legato, we will use the tenuto marking. The tenuto marking is when you are really, really emphasizing on a smooth bowing or tonguing, still separated, not slurred, but really holding it for the full value and maybe a hair longer than its full value. Something like this. Really, really smooth. I am tonguing. I will bow, but it's going to be really smooth, and there's going to be no dig in, there's going to be no accent, and definitely no space in between the notes. And those are some of the most important articulations that we will use.